Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Tasha and I'm from BeautyChameleon.com, and in today's video, many of you subscribers out there, my lovely subscribers, have requested a video as far as what is the difference between the primers I am seeing here on YouTube. And the three primers that I'm going to be talking about in this video, of course, is the one I use a lot lately, which is the Smashbox Photo Finish Lip Primer. And this one's by Smashbox Cosmetics. They want to know about the Too Faced Shadow Insurance by Too Faced Cosmetics and the forever used, well-known used Urban Decay Primer Potion. So if you're curious to know the differences between these three, what are they for, and which one's my favorite, or do I have a preference, stay tuned and keep on watching. Okay, so welcome back. Today's talk is going to be all about eyeshadow primers. Now, like I said, many of my subscribers, many of you out there have requested to know the difference between certain shadows that everybody's been seeing a lot, a lot on YouTube. So I'm going to talk about all of those and tell you the differences between those three. Now, many of you guys are wondering, what is a primer? Why do I need primer, and how does it benefit me? Well, I'll tell you. Almost any brand you see out there on the market has an eyeshadow primer or eyeshadow base to keep the shadows on. You will also find primers in drugstore brands. Like, the only one I can think of off the top of my head right now is L'Oreal Decay. But every brand has a primer because they all recognize that women are having a hard time making their shadows last longer for them, whether they're a working mom, or just a mom that loves wearing makeup, or just, just anybody that wears makeup every day and they get tired of reapplying. They know that issue is out there, so that's why hence a primer has been created. Now, what a primer will do for you, the biggest complaint a lot of women have is that when they wear eyeshadows, they notice that their shadows don't last all day long. Or the second thing with eyeshadows, if they do wear eyeshadows, they notice if they have oily eyelids, they end up with a lot of creasing. And that could be a pet peeve, especially if you have to be somewhere after work and you're going to go out, or you're going to go have a nice dinner with a colleague or anything. You have these creasing eyelids. That can be problematic too. And then the other problem is the longevity of the shadow. It fades. It fades, especially for those that have drier eyelids. It fades and roll off. So that's why there are primers out here on the market to help alleviate that. Now, basically, a primer is going to be a creamy or liquid base that you put on your eyelids, and basically what primers will do is create a barrier. If you think of a round circle, it creates a barrier, helps keep oils from peeking through. It helps if you have drier eyelids that want moisture, it helps keep it from trying to absorb the color, and also keeps the shadow from rolling off the skin if you're dry too. And in a sense, the eyeshadow primer will work as that barrier and work as a magnet to hold on, or think of a glue, helps keep those shadows on like glue. So that's why if you're suffering for those three issues I mentioned before, you need a primer. Now, the primers everybody's talking about, of course, like I mentioned, is the Urban Decay, the one I use a lot that everybody want to know about, the Smashbox Photo Finish, Urban Decay Primer Potion, and Shadow Strength. Now, people are wondering, why do you have three primers? What's the difference between those three primers? And I'll tell you. Now, for the longest of time, I have used the Urban Decay Primer Potion. This is my favorite. It's been my most used primer for the past 3 years. I'll tell you that hands down. My favorite primer. The reason why I like it is because the packaging, of course, is super cute. It looks like a little genie bottle or a little Indian ink bottle, but it's really cute packaging. When you put it on, great thing I like about it is that it looks like it has a tint, like a vanilla tint to it. And when you put it on, it goes on clear. So if you're a woman of color or deeper skin tone, you don't have to worry about this primer turning into like a chalky, ashy color in your eyelid. And you're like, oh my God, I look like there's pat donuts all over my eyelid. It goes on super clear. So that's one thing I like about it. And the same thing, it wasn't sticky or thick. So when I put my eyeshadows on, they go on nice and smooth and they blend out beautiful. And I'll just show you. I'm just going to take any shadow. I'm just grabbing my MAC palette. We'll play with, I think this is called Vibrant Grape from the Star Wars collection. I'm just going to play with this grape. What I'm going to do is place it on the area where I placed the primer, which is right here. And you see, if you wanted to blend this out, you can easily do some blending in circular motion. That's one thing I like about this primer. When you work with darker colors, primarily when you want to do a smoky eye, when you place a dark color on the eye, this primer allows you to blend and blend it out nice and evenly. Some primers will not do that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you see, with the primer, that's how beautiful that color is. And on my other part of my hand, this is how the shadow is going to look like without the primer. So you see the difference in intensity. This one's going to be on more intense, like the color in the palette, and this one's going to go on a little bit sheer. You will also notice an uneven blending because the surface is dry. It has nothing for the shadow to cling onto, and if you're oily, you're going to be creasing by noon, and if you're dry or your eyes fade, it's going to be gone by noon. So that's the reason why you want a primer, and that's the reason why I love the Urban Decay, because I can have my shadows on for 9, 10, 12 hours and they will still be on. If I decide to fall asleep with my makeup on, it probably will be on the next morning, but that's how good the Urban Decay primer was. So that's why that one's been a staple in my collection. Now, my dislike about the Urban Decay, even with the new packaging, when it first came out, the Urban Decay's paddle foot was just straight down, okay, not slanted like now. But with the original packaging, it was kind of hard to know when you ran out of your primer. And you know, one time I thought I was out of my primer, and one of my colleagues was like, Tasha, I'm gonna tell you something. Go home, cut it in half, and see how much primer you have left that you think you're out of. So I did that. I cut the bottle in half, which I do not recommend doing. You can hurt yourself. And I had a little jar, kind of like the Rape and Beauty Cosmetics jar. When I opened it up, I found enough primer that was in the jar that I was out of, enough to fill up one of those jars. So that was my one pet peeve about the packaging. Even though it's cute, you're not getting all your products out. So that is why they created the new paddle foot. So it can, you see how this is angled? It's able to scoop along the bottom edges and get everything out. But I'll test that theory. When I run low, when I run out of my Smashbox, of course, I will test and see if there's still primer left in the jar and see if you're getting all of your money's worth. But all in all, this primer, I 100% love it, recommend it. It's the best primer I've used, and I've used a lot. So that's the Urban Decay primer. Now, with that said, you remember I was talking about how I got frustrated because I wasn't getting all my packaging, or getting all my product out the package. After using Urban Decay for a long time, I decided to venture out and try another brand. And the other brand I decided to try was Too Faced Cosmetics Shadow Insurance. This is the packaging. You get about 0.35 fluid ounces in this primer. What attracted me to this initially, because I didn't really try the product, I was just attracted by the packaging. The packaging is a lot different from the Urban Decay. It's a squeezy tube. So my thought was, if I get a squeezy tube, I can get every last drop out of this primer, which is awesome, because I know some of you out there that are fashionistas and makeup nistas. I made that up, but yeah, you like makeup and you want to get every last drop of your money's worth from your product. So I like the fact with the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, I'm going to put some out. You can squeeze out your amount you need, and this is about the color. It's similar to the Urban Decay's color. Not trying to flip you off, but it has a slight tint to it. And again, this primer, pretty much any skin tone can wear. It won't turn your eyelids, you know, cakey or make them look, not cakey, but won't make them look ashy. But it goes on clear. This one is a little bit, I'll say thicker, has a little bit more body than the Urban Decay. Again, when you use shadows, I preferably use this one when I wear more of a natural or a toned down look, and I'll tell you in a minute. But when you use shadows, it blends out pretty good for your soft, neutral tones. But if you're trying to do a smoky look, I'll show you what happens. I'm going to take the same color. Actually, let me just take a different color. I'm going to use my matte Graphology color, which is a dark purple. I'm going to place the color here, and I'm going to blend it out. Now, as you start to blend it out, with the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, you may notice when you work with darker colors, when you're blending it out, it doesn't blend out evenly. Now, with your softer neutral tones, it does blend out fine. But when you work with darker tones, you end up with these like little spotted areas. And that's the only little thing I don't like about it. I don't like to have to go back and try to fill in the gaps when I'm blending out darker smoky looks on the eye. And maybe if I turn this way you can see much better, but yeah, there's some gaps. So I think when it comes to darker pigmented shadows with Too Faced Shadow Insurance, uneven blending. That's the only thing I don't like about it. And again, if you use the same shadow without a primer, it doesn't go on as intense, so still need a primer. So overall, Too Faced Shadow Insurance packaging is wonderful. You can get every last drop out of this one. But the only thing I dislike about it is that I don't like the blending when I'm working with darker colors. So again, this is still a great product. I mean, still nice quality product. It still holds on the shadow, like it also helps keep from creasing happening. So it does all that for you. It's just my pet peeve is when I'm working with deeper colors, I don't get even blending with this one. Okay, so that's a Too Faced Shadow Insurance. Now, like the Urban Decay Primer Potion and a Too Faced Shadow Insurance, you can find both of these at Sephora. You can find them at Ulta, and I also know if you don't have none of those stores closer to you can find them either at beauty.com, and I'm forgetting another website, but all the websites you can find these two at, in addition to the one I'm going to show you now. Now, you guys know I use the Smashbox Shadow Insurance, or I can't talk. I use the Smashbox Photo Finish Lid Primer a lot in my tutorial. Now again, you may run into the same packaging issue as the Urban Decay because again, this one, it has a paddle foot, so it's kind of hard to get everything out potentially. With the packaging, you get about 0.08 fluid ounces, so it's a little less than the other two. But what I like about it, it's still a nice formula, lightweight, okay? But for me, I like that it has a shadow tint in it. When you put it on, if your eyelids are tired from having really bad allergies, or if you want to conceal discoloration on the eyelid, this is perfect. Now, if you're darker than an NC45 or if you're darker than NC45, you may not like this because this will make you look like you were sleeping in powder donuts, that is. But I love it. Even out my eyelids. Sometimes this is all I put on some days. If I don't feel like doing eyeshadow, I'll put this all over, line, and I'm out the door with mascara and lip gloss. But this is an awesome primer for that. It will last all day long like the other two. And then my thing I like to test is to see how it blends with darker colors. So if you pat on your color and then you blend out, you end up with this nice blending area, and I'm going to blend it out a lot. But you see how this blends? That's one thing I like about that the color still stays intact and you don't end up with these gaps of shadow that won't blend out. Now, it could potentially be I didn't have the shadow all over, but most times when I do use this Too Faced Shadow Insurance, I get gaps all the time, so I love it for that. So I love the blending of the Smashbox. It lasts all day long. I love the color tint that's in there, especially for those days where I have stayed up too late, my eyes a little red, or I had a little bit too much fun, or a bad allergy day. This is a great product that can fake a smooth, well-rested eye in seconds. So overall, all in all, you guys know this is my favorite right now. But if you had to make a choice as far as which primer to start with or work with, I would say the easiest one to play with that's very popular and that works awesome is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. I think it works for a vast majority of all skin types, skin colors. You have to worry about it leaving a milky, ashy residue on deeper skin tones. And then at the same time, it gives you awesome blending when you're working with your darker eyeshadow shades. And then again, the longevity of the product is phenomenal. Love the Urban Decay Primer Potion. And then if you're not a very deep skin tone, this is another alternative to keeping your makeup vanity for those days where you have not gotten a lot of rest. The Smashbox Photo Finish Lid Primer is, I love it. I totally love it. Now the prices of these three primers will run, they're pretty much equivalent across the board. I believe the Urban Decay and the Shadow Insurance, now the full size is much larger than this, but both of the products sell for about $18 if I'm not mistaken. And the Smashbox Photo Finish Lid Primer is going to be the most expensive out of the three, which is $20. So it's up to you. You make the choice as far as what you want to spend. what you want to use on your eyelid, but overall all three of them works well. Just consider your blending when you're buying your product, but you will love the longevity that you get out of your primer, and you'll be able to work out some wonderful fun summer looks for this year. So anyway, I hope you guys found this tutorial or this review informative. If you have questions on other primers, mind you, or if you have a good primer that you love that I didn't discuss in this video, let me know. I mean, I'm always, I love to try different products and see how they work, and if they work and if it's worth sharing with you guys or not. But until that, you guys, I won't talk too much. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.